De keynote spreker bij het openingscollege van PTC over het cohortjaar 2026 is Dr. Shelley Meyer. Zij heeft de studenten, maar ook alle overige aanwezigen dan toegesproken. En zij heeft het gehad over interconnected, waarna dan de studenten, maar ook de overige aanwezigen in de gelegenheid werden gesteld om vragen te stellen. Wij voeren nu naar Dr. Shelley Meyer bij de keynote spreker bij het openingscollege van PTC over 2026.
I'm a professor, so if you know anything about professors, we are used to standing up here and going for 2, 3, 4 hours. That is what we love doing, and I'm not going to do that tonight, but I do want to say that I am excited. I have been hearing everyone else talk about the young faces and all of these students, and because my back was to you, this is my first view of the room. And I have to say, it's a very beautiful view from up here to see all of these young faces and smiling faces, and I promise not to talk for 3 hours. But welcome, all right? I am very excited to talk to you about interconnected. Today is a special moment, not just because you're beginning a new college journey or a new college year, but because you are also stepping into a world that is changing faster than any generation has seen before this time. It's a world where careers evolve as quickly as technology, and where borders between industries are fading, and where the biggest global challenges cannot be solved by just one discipline alone. I love that my discipline is called international business because it encompasses a little bit of everything, a little bit of marketing and econ and finance. But even with international business, this multidisciplinary field that I'm in, it's not enough. Our world is connected like never before. And the theme of today's speech and this evening's event is interconnected. And do you realize, though, before I go on and talk about being interconnected, that connected isn't the same as interconnected? And I think we sometimes take that for granted. So I want you to really think about that, not just now, but as the year goes on and as the evening goes on, think about the way things can be connected without being interconnected. My computer is plugged in, and the energy has to flow one way, and I'm giving you information that is going one way. That's connected, but to be interconnected means there needs to be a mutual relationship. Mutual, not one way, but it has to go both ways. I'm going to pause for a minute. You know that the theme is interconnected, but I want to talk about Fulbright for just a moment, if you will humor me. And I'm here as a Fulbright scholar. And about 80 years ago, a U.S. senator in the United States, he came up with this idea, and he said, you know what, if we can share our scholars between countries, if we can send some of our Americans over to other countries, we can make friends with these other countries, and let's do it through education. Because if we have friendships, hopefully we won't have disagreements or wars or something negative, if you will. So Senator Fulbright got this passed through Congress, through the Senate, and to this day, 80 years later, every single year the United States sends a few hundred scholars out into the world to hundreds of countries, okay, a couple hundred countries every single year. And the idea, the reason I am here is to learn about Suriname. Yes, I'm here to give. I taught a research class, I taught an ethics class, I taught a marketing class. I'm here to give. But more importantly, I am here to receive. I need to learn about Suriname because I need to go home and teach my students and my colleagues about Suriname. And that's a tall order. And my students heard me say this so many times last fall, is this isn't one way. I don't want to just be connected to Suriname. I want to be interconnected. I need something back. What do you want my students in the United States to know about Suriname? Okay? So interconnected, it needs to be mutual. Polytechnic College has an ongoing emphasis of being interconnected within this country's infrastructure. For example, the programs created on the basis of a covenant with the government and with the business community to strengthen the export of agricultural products from Suriname. Amazing goal. The question is not why we should be interconnected, but how that occurs in your daily life over the next years of study, and what you need in order to capitalize on this focus of being interconnected. Interconnected is a word that describes the reality of the world that you are entering. It's a word that describes the job market you will face, and most importantly, it is a word that describes you. The relationships you build, the knowledge you pursue, and the mindset you choose to develop. My very first conversation with Director Marjorie was about mindset, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And my eyes lit up when she said that. I'm like, yes, we are on the same page. So today, I challenge you. I want to challenge you to think differently about your future. I want to show you that your success will not depend solely on what you know, but on how well you can connect what you know across disciplines. Let me say that again, because as a professor, you won't hear us say this very often. Your success will not depend on what you know. You're going to forget that because you're going to start cramming for exams and studying for that paper and doing everything you need to do to check off a rubric in your class. But your success doesn't depend on what you know. It depends on how well you connect what you know across disciplines, across cultures, across technologies, and across communities. The world you are entering is complex and fast and deeply interconnected. So let's begin with the big picture. Okay? Look around you. We live in a time when technology is shaping every single industry, even those that once seemed like manual industries. Decisions in business immediately affect society and culture and environment. And one innovation in artificial intelligence can change the nature of a job across a continent. A new policy, a natural disaster, or a social movement in one country can alter the economic opportunities in another. And I'm not going to talk about American politics right now. So, in other words, nothing stands alone anymore. Hold up your smartphones. Not just a device, is it? Yeah, not just a device. It's the result of engineering, design, psychology, environmental science, global economics, international law, supply chain management, all working together. Not just a device, but an interconnected effort by all these disciplines to bring that piece of equipment to you. A health crisis isn't just a medical issue anymore, is it? It requires expertise from epidemiology, data science, logistics, communication, leadership, and public policy. Even a small business here in Suriname is not just a business. It is part of the local economy. It's a digital marketplace, an environmental footprint, a global supply chain player, and it's part of your cultural landscape. This is the world in which you must learn to lead. And the truth is, you cannot lead in an interconnected world by staying locked up into one specialty, one silo. You can't do it. The silo mindset is dead. In the past, careers were built along straight lines. You studied one thing. You became an expert in that thing. All of you out there with a PhD know that. A PhD, we know this much about something this narrow. You study one thing, you become an expert in that, and you stayed in that field, in that area, in that discipline for the next 40 years, and then you retired. But guess what? That world is gone. For some of you, younger people there, you probably don't even know that world or have experienced it. So today, the employees who rise up the fastest, the entrepreneurs who innovate, and the leaders who change society are the ones that understand systems and connections and intersections. So if you study information communication technology, ICT, if you could study ICT, but you don't understand business, you're going to struggle. Probably not going to go too far. Okay? And you're probably going to blame your professors. So right now I'm going to tell you, nope, can't do that. Because we told you tonight, right? Okay? If you study business and you don't understand technology, you're going to fall behind. If you study engineering without thinking about its impact on the environment, your solutions are going to be pretty incomplete. And if you study health without understanding data, you're going to miss some really important and critical insights. If you study economics without understanding society and people and government policies, your policies will fail the people. So the future does not reward specialization alone. It does not reward your degree. So sorry, and maybe I'm not supposed to tell you that in front of the minister and the director, but it's not about a degree. It's not about that piece of paper. But your future will reward integrated thinking, and you're in the right place, because I heard enough of what was going on and what was being said tonight to know you have a whole room full of professors and people in here that are going to help you make that connection. You're going to have more than a degree, more than a piece of paper. It rewards professionals. This degree is going to reward, your future is going to reward professionals who can see the bigger picture, who can say, I understand how this affects that. I can collaborate with experts outside of my field. And again, international business, my field encompasses econ and finance and marketing. And I always said, thank God it doesn't include accounting. I don't have to deal with accounting in international business, but guess what? Being interconnected, that mindset for me won't work anymore, okay? I need to collaborate with experts even in accounting. And I can adapt when the landscape changes. That's what we need to hear from you. The mindset that I'm talking about is called systems thinking. And the earlier you develop it, the further you're going to go. So my last bullet point on there is the Suriname advantage. Don't worry, I have 40 more slides after this. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Because Suriname is multicultural, multilingual, and globally connected, you already live inside of an interconnected system. Every single day of your life, you are being taught and shown and living the idea that diversity matters, that you can learn from different perspectives, that collaboration is very natural, that challenges are complex and require more than one approach, and that change affects everyone. 50 years of change. Woohoo! Okay, cheer for that. So being in Suriname is not a disadvantage. These are opportunities and distinctions for you to leverage. You've got leverage that some of my students in the middle of the United States who have never left maybe 100 or 200 mile radius don't have. That's the Suriname advantage. Take advantage of it. Understand what you already have in terms of that foundation. Suriname is a nation built on its ability to connect cultures and ideas and people, languages and history. And you, this generation, are perfectly positioned to thrive in a world that requires that very skill that you're living with and taking for granted possibly because it's the only way in which you have ever lived. But often what comes naturally is also very easily dismissed. So be careful. Do not take for granted what you already have available to you. This innate knowledge of connecting that you do here so well in Suriname, it's important. And it will lay your foundation for what you're about to embark on with Polytechnic College. We're going to jump to the next PowerPoint slide. You've heard these words many times. We learn, we do, we lead. That is a mission for an interconnected future. Your institution, PTC, has a mission that speaks very directly to the work. So let's talk about that a minute. Let's break it down a little bit through a lens of interconnected thinking. We learn not just facts, not just theories, but also the relationship between ideas. For example, how technology impacts the environment, how business decisions shape our community, how engineering affects human behavior, how one Fulbright scholar can go back and tell people about Suriname and what's happening in Suriname and what possibilities exist, how oil money can rebuild an infrastructure, and how not caring about the environment can destroy tourism. Learning today is about connecting the dots, not memorizing the dots. In the past, education spent a lot of time asking you to memorize. Okay, I might have a few professors not happy with this comment either, but yeah, there will be a little memorizing. But connecting those dots is so much more important. Finding ways to connect the dots and to think beyond what you're being told or what you're reading on a screen or in a textbook. Thinking is more powerful than Googling. Thinking is more powerful than Googling. Bertrand Russell, the 1950 Nobel laureate in literature, said, "Most men would rather die than think, and most do." Every time we take the easy way out and we Google an answer, we avoid the gift of thinking. Second part, we do. You're expected to apply that knowledge. So you learn it, now do it, apply it. Don't just absorb it. Experiment and build and design, test, collaborate, prototype, analyze, refine. For many of you, the doing is going to be easy. I've had students in PTC. They were really, really amazing and really bright. Doing was easy. I was shocked at the way they stepped up to the plate and did the work I asked of them. But also in the action of how you discover the connections that aren't written in your textbooks, especially this might be true for many of you who are in a laboratory setting at PTC. After you do, you must think about how those connections how you can allow them to take you to the next level. That next level is where you lead. So we lead, the third part. Leadership today doesn't come from knowing more than everyone else. It used to. That's who our leaders were, the guy that knew the most in the room, okay? That's not the reality anymore. It requires us to move out of our silo. Leaders help us bring the connections into reality, and it is what PTC intends to have you do and have you become. You are starting on the yellow brick road of leadership. Now, I know many of you do not know the yellow brick road. Every person in America knows the yellow brick road, so that is just your challenge after tonight. If you don't know what that picture is about, and when I tell you about you're starting on the yellow brick road of leadership, that's for you to go find out about after tonight. But it's a very famous movie from, I don't even know, 1930s? 1939. Okay, so if you don't know, but that's how I am picturing this group here tonight. When I was thinking about interconnected, I'm like, they are on that yellow brick road, and it's a good thing. Leadership in this internet-connected world comes from bringing people together. creating shared understanding, seeing the system and solving the bigger picture problem, and inspiring others to think beyond the obvious. I had the privilege of being inspired by my students. So guys, it's happening. It's now. And you have people that you can begin inspiring now. If we can go on to the next PowerPoint slide there. Let me talk about that growth mindset. Now this, I told you I was excited. That's why you're seeing a lot more words on this particular slide, because I want to make sure that you're hearing it, you're seeing it, it's up there, because this is really where it's at. And in an interconnected world, you need a mindset that is above all else curious. My favorite word of all time, curious. You cannot ever fall into the trap of saying, that is not my job, that is not my field, oh, I don't have to worry about accounting. You can't do it anymore. Instead, you have to ask questions. You have to practice the skill of asking questions because it is lacking in today's society. Learn to ask questions of yourself, of your work, of your field, because questions should move you forward in your thinking. How does this relate to what I'm studying? What can I learn from that discipline over there? Okay, if you're studying this one over here, what can you learn from these? No more silos. What do you need to know? Who do you need to know in these other disciplines up here on these boards in front of me? How might these ideas support each other? How can we create projects, professors, that connect our students from different disciplines? How can we help them? The growth mindset means that you need to be flexible because technologies and jobs and people will change, grow, evolve. And it means you're going to need to embrace collaboration. Man, I'm a professor. I love when I've got a course I've already taught for 5 years in a row, and I'm going to just sail in there, and I know what I'm going to lecture, and it's easy street. Nope, not anymore. Collaborate. Work together, teachers. Find ways to work across disciplines and set these young minds onto the right path of being Suriname's future leaders.